How to refinish wood furniture. It sounds intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. If you follow the steps I'm going to show you in this video, I guarantee you with a little bit of time and patience, your piece of old furniture is going to be looking new again in no time. Stick around, check it out. So if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that I like to build things. However, something I like to do more than building stuff is actually restoring stuff. And that's what today's video is going to be about. So there's a couple of problem areas on this. Let me show you where they're at. Now at first glance, obviously you see all of the nicks and scratches that are on the finish. And most of these are all pretty superficial. The next problem area on this piece is, as you can see, the legs. And thankfully, the joints all seem to be in really good shape. It just needs to be tightened up from the inside. Let me show you. Okay, that needs to be fixed too. So like I said, the hardware on the leg joints actually seems to be pretty good. And all it needs is just to be tightened up. And obviously you saw the other problem, that is the hinges. We're gonna have to put on new hinges as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get this piece of furniture disassembled so we can get ready to strip. Strip the furniture, not closed. All right, so we reached the most important part of the video, and unfortunately the video I took during this furniture restoration process, which tells you the steps to take on how to strip and prepare furniture for refinishing, became corrupted. So therefore it's time for low budget reenactment videos. All right, so first step in this process is to take whatever stripper that you're going to use. You want to make sure that you follow the instructions on the back of it, obviously. Do that before you start working with this. You're going to want to apply it liberally. You're going to want to slap it on. Don't slap it. Don't spread it all over the place. Make sure you're using gloves when you're doing this, by the way. But you just want to be able to put this over the entire finish and be pretty liberal with it. Next step, you're going to let it sit for the recommended time. Now, pro tip here, get yourself some painter's plastic, or if you got saran wrap, that'll work too. After you apply the stripper, you're going to want to wrap this. Reason for this, if you're in a climate like mine where it's hot, it's dry, this is going to dry up. And if that stripper dries up, it's not going to be effective, and then you're going to spend even more time trying to go and get all of that stripper off of there. So wrap it up. It helps keep in the moisture and it keeps the product activated. So pro tip, don't forget that. Now, after that is done, you're going to want to check a small space to see if it's ready to have the stripper completely removed. So the way you accomplish that is you're going to use a plastic putty knife to check to see if the stripper was effective. You don't want to use a metal one for any part of this process because it will scratch your wood. So get your plastic putty knife, and you're just going to want to go into a small area and just push away to see if it was successful in stripping the finish and also any stain that's there. If you're getting down to bare wood, then chances are it's probably good to go. If not, you may need to wait longer and let the stripper continue to work. Now, if you got some stubborn spots that are maybe difficult to get the remainder of the finish off of, you can use some abrasive scrubbing pads. That will help. If you got some tight areas where there are small crevices you need to get into, try a toothbrush, maybe a toothpick if you have to, depending on how small of a space you need to get into, but that will work for that. All right, so once you have everything completely scraped and everything is completely stripped, you're going to want to wipe this off. Now, I've used water and a rag in the past. I didn't really have any trouble doing that. They do recommend mineral spirits, so if you want to get some odorless mineral spirits and use that, you're just going to use that along with a rag and just wipe everything down to get the remainder of the stripping residue off of there. All right, so once you got your piece completely stripped, you got all the residue off, and you've allowed it to dry, You then want to go and start obviously sanding. So I started at an 80 grit sandpaper because there were a couple of nicks and gouges that I had to get out of the furniture, and then I worked my way up to a 120. Once I had the sanding done and completed, I made sure that everything was wiped clean. There was no residue or any dust left over on it. And then I went ahead and I used a sanding sealer or a pre-stain. Really important part of this process. So this way you get that rich, even color when you go to put the stain on the piece. So using the sanding sealer is actually pretty easy. Take it, brush it, and you want to brush all the pieces. All right, so once the sanding sealer has dried, you're going to want to take a 220 grit sandpaper, go over all the surfaces lightly by hand. Make sure that it's smooth. You don't need to sand this very heavily. It's just a light sanding just to smooth everything out. Once you have that done, then go ahead, take a damp cloth, wipe everything down, get rid of all the remaining dust and residue, let it dry, and then it's ready for stain. And that's the part of the video that didn't get corrupted. So let's get back to the video right now. Look at the even color of the stain. You can see why it's important to use the sanding sealer. For the finish, I used Deft Spray Lacquer. This is the first time using this product, but let me tell you, I really like the results. All right, so you know what that sound is. It's time for the celebratory beer marking the end of this project. So if you're looking to refinish some of your furniture that you have at home, a couple things you want to make sure of. First, make sure that it's real furniture. Second, you want to make sure you have all your supplies on hand before you start. And third, take your time with this. This is not something that you want to rush. The devil is in the details, and those details come from your prep work. Now, all the supplies that I use in this video, I'm going to leave in the link in the description below if you want to get onto Amazon and purchase them yourself. Oh, and by the way, this bottle opener, I'll leave a link to that as well in case you want to pick one up. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button for me. And by the way, if you like the video and you want to see more, be sure to consider subscribing to my channel so you can get inspiration for your next DIY project. Until the next video, cheers.